When I Fall by Scarlet Emerald 32. Chapter 31.
Thanks for giving me a ride.
Talisa looked over at Jerry.
Yeah, no worries. I was happy to. It's my weekend to head over to the sanctuary anyway, and Alexandria is only a little out of the way.
You know I'm still salty that you guys started a D&D campaign without me. Do you have any idea how long it's been since I've gotten to play? I've got the damn dice tattooed on my arm. It's unfair.
Dude! The guys at the sanctuary started it. I just got invited to join. Though I do get to DM for the first time this weekend, which is awesome. But you could totally come along if you wanted to. I think they just figured it'd be kind of awkward considering one of the main guys in our party is your ex. But I know he'd be psyched to have you join in.
Maybe I will sometime.
Jerry shot her a surprised look.
For real? I thought you still had a whole no contact thing going with Eugene.
I do, but lately, I don't know. I've been thinking maybe it's time for that to change.
Jerry grinned over at her.
Dude, are you guys getting back together?
No, but I've been confronted lately with the idea that I can't ignore his existence forever, so maybe it's time to see if we can at least be friendly. And by the way, since when do you care so much? You never even knew us as a couple.
Jerry shrugged.
Yeah, I know. It's just, I like Eugene. He's a cool dude. And obviously, you know, I like you. It'd be pretty cool if you guys got back together and Nabila and I had, like, you know, a couple friends to hang with.
Well, sorry to burst your bubble, but that ship has sailed.
Oh well, at least I tried.
Jerry made the turn that would take them into Alexandria.
So you nervous about this whole thing?
Yes and no. I'm not nervous about the idea of talking to someone like him. It's what I used to do all the time, and I've spent time with guys way worse than him.
Jerry looked over at her in disbelief.
For real?
Yep, I'll give you one word. Cannibal.
Dude, that's so messed up.
Yes, it is. And by comparison, it makes Negan seem almost normal. But I didn't have any emotional investment with those guys. If this were the old world, I wouldn't even consider taking this case. I'm too personally involved, and I know he's going to use that against me. Talking to guys like Negan is always a dance. He'll try to manipulate my emotions by using what he knows about me to try and trigger me. And he knows a lot more than I'd ideally like him to, so that part is what makes me nervous.
But you still think it's a good idea? You talking with him about stuff?
I think Michonne is right. Leaving him in solitary for the rest of his life is worse than killing him in a lot of ways. So they need to either kill him and get it over with, or see if he's able to be rehabilitated enough to possibly be put on a lighter sentence.
But you're never letting him go, right?
Absolutely not. No amount of rehabilitation could make me believe we'd be safe if he was free. The best he can hope for is stretches outside for community service, but we're a long way from even that.
Good. Because with everything he did, I kind of feel like that dude deserves to never see the light of day again. Even if it is inhumane or whatever.
I'm sure there's a lot of people who agree with you. Can't really say I'm not one of them either. But if there's one thing I've learned over the years, it's that nothing is as straightforward as you'd like it to be.
Jerry gave an appreciative huff of laughter as they turned onto the road that led to Alexandria's gates.
Ain't that the truth?
As they wove their way between the cars they used for barriers, towards the gate they could just see about a half-mile down the road. Talisa shot another uncertain look over at Jerry.
Hey, Jer. Does he ever talk about me?
Jerry looked over at her quizzically before quickly turning his attention back to the barricades in the road.
You sure you want me to answer that?
I mean, yeah. I feel like I need to know either way. Try to figure out where I stand.
Nah, he doesn't.
Despite what she'd said to the contrary, his words pricked painfully at her heart. Her reaction must have shown on her face because Jerry quickly amended his statement.
I don't think it's because he doesn't care. If anything, it's kind of the opposite. I think mentioning you still kind of hurts for him.
Oh, well, I don't want him to be hurting over it.
Yeah, but he is. And I mean, that's pretty much on him, right? He's the one who made the bad choices, and he's got to live with them. One way or the other. Not much you can do to change it, except maybe.
We're not getting back together, Jerry.
Had to give it one more shot.
He winked at her, making her reluctantly smile as they pulled up to a new outer defensive gate about 20 feet in front of what had been the previous outer perimeter that was lined with large wooden spikes.
Damn, they sure have beefed up security around here.
Trying to prevent another swarm from trapping them. Rick told me what happened with the quarry. This way they can hold the dead back, but still get people out here to take care of them.
Very smart.
The gate swung inward slowly, allowing them access to the secondary gate. When they got there, it was slid back by none other than Rosita, who looked up and smiled warmly when she saw who was in the car. As soon as they'd gotten inside, and Talisa had exited, she came around the car and pulled her into a tight hug.
Damn, it's good to see your face back inside these walls.
Good to be back, but I gotta say I hardly recognize the place.
She looked around in admiration at the small community she'd called her home. They already done some of the expansions that Deanna had originally proposed. The walls had been moved out to incorporate land for beautiful flourishing gardens with tented greenhouse roofs in some places. She saw the back wall had been moved out as well to create a picturesque pond complete with a working watermill about 200 yards from what used to be her home.
See, my old place is waterfront property now. Guess my rent's gonna go up if I move back.
Rosita laughed and shook her head slightly.
Believe me, that spot is in high demand, but we're keeping it empty, at least for now. Your home is always going to be yours to come back to. Besides, with all the moving and changing of things, it's not like we really need the space.
Oh yeah? What's been changing? Catch me up.
Rosita linked her arm through Talisa's as they walked.
Well, Rick and Michonne decided to move into Deanna's old place. Figured people around here see it as the leader's house, so it was a good fit. Aaron and Gracie moved into their old house.
Aaron and Gracie?
Yeah, Aaron decided to adopt her about a month ago, and he felt like he needed a new start, staying in the house he shared with Eric. He said he didn't want to raise her in a place that was a memorial to what he lost. He wanted to build something for both of them together.
Aw, that's sweet. And also sad. But I'm glad he's found a way to start a new chapter. I'm definitely going to have to stop by and see them while I'm here.
So yeah, he moved in there. Tara and I moved into his place because it's closer to the gate than our old place in the back. Oh, get this. Kevin and Eliza living together now in Jesse's old house.
Shut up, you're kidding.
Hey Tally, I'm gonna head out.
Jerry called to her as he walked back to the car.
What? Oh right, okay Jerry. Drive safe and I'll see you tomorrow, okay?
Be here around 3?
You got it. Go have fun storming the castle or whatever it is you're doing this month.
Oh, it's gonna be good. We're tackling a labyrinth?
Damn. I'm jealous.
Maybe you'll catch the next one.
Jerry gave her a knowing smile as he hopped back into the car.
What's that about?
He goes over to the sanctuary 1 weekend a month to play a D&D campaign with a bunch of the guys from there, and he's trying to convince me to come along.
But those guys are gonna definitely include...
Yeah, I know, but it's been over 4 months. I'll be honest, I don't know if I'm ready to be around him yet, or if I ever will be. But I'm not going to find out if I keep avoiding him forever.
Damn, that's a big step.
Yeah, I know. And one I really don't want to be thinking about right now, especially considering that I haven't even decided if I'm going to take it. And more importantly, I have a lot bigger things to focus on for the next few hours. So, let's get back to our original topic. Any other Alexandria news?
No, not really. Oh, well, except for Jadis. She got here about 4 days after the final fight, and she's living in our old house down by the pond now. Already got some weird-ass sculptures out front and everything.
Talisa stopped with her foot on the first step of what was now Rick and Michonne's porch, and turned around to look at her curiously.
Jadis? As in Garbage Queen Jadis?
The very same. Turns out, when the saviors got out of the sanctuary and attacked us all, Simon's first stop before Hilltop was the dump. He slaughtered all of her people. She was the only one who got away.
Oh, wow. I didn't keep a very close eye on who's left at the sanctuary, but please tell me that asshole isn't walking around free.
Oh no, he's dead. One of the few things Negan did right, as much as it makes my skin crawl to say it. He killed him himself as punishment for the dump massacre.
Yeah, I gotta hand it to him. As sick as that bastard is, he had a code and he stuck to it.
You really gonna go sit in there and talk with him?
That's the plan.
They both climbed the steps to Rick's front door now. She knocked, and Michonne answered the door a few seconds later, smiling immediately when she saw Talisa.
Hey, you. Good to have you home.
Yeah, I think I've heard that somewhere before.
She gave Michonne a hug and shot a teasing wink at Rosita, who smirked appreciatively.
Come on in. Rick's in the living room.
They walked into the house and down the hall to the living room where Rick was sitting at the desk that used to be Deanna's in the corner, reading over a document, while Judith played with toys on the floor next to him. As they walked in, he looked up and smiled.
Talisa, it's...
Yeah. Great to have her back, we told her.
They all chuckled as Talisa gave Rick a quick hug too.
Thank you for doing this. I know it can't be easy, but we think it's important.
I agree. And honestly, it's not as hard as it might seem. Am I a little nervous trying to work with someone who knows more about my personal life than I'd usually allow? Sure. But in the end, my process is the same. They all tried to get under my skin, so I'm pretty adept at shutting it out.
I'm sure you are. We're not worried about your ability to do your job. We just don't want you to end up worse off because of it. That bastard's caused enough hurt.
He can't hurt me anymore? Not really. The worst he can do is bring up the past, and I've already dealt with all of that shit. Does it still sting sometimes? Sure, but I've moved on. We all have.
Well, if you think you're ready, then I guess we should head over.
She followed him out the front door and down the sidewalk towards the townhouses.
So Rick, I need to ask you what I asked all my clients back in the day. What is your optimal end goal for these sessions?
Well, I think our short-term goal should be deciding if his mental state is declining and what we can do about that. After some time, we can look into next steps, whatever those may be.
Sounds reasonable.
They had reached the door of the townhouse. Rick opened it and Talisa walked in, trying hard not to think about how she'd run across the Walker-filled compound to get to this building the night that she'd first told Eugene how she felt about him. This was why being back here was so hard. Everything around her was another memory of him. Rick walked down the stairs, but before he opened the door, he looked back at her one more time.
You're absolutely sure you want to do this?
Want doesn't really factor into it, Rick. It needs to be done, and I'm the one with the knowledge and skills to do it. I'll be okay.
He nodded and then turned to open the basement door, stepping in ahead of her.
Well, if it isn't my old buddy Rick.
She heard Negan say, but his voice was harsh and scratchy. When Rick had captured him at the final battle, he'd incapacitated him by slicing his throat, and she knew they'd brought him back here and patched him up afterwards, but it sounded like the wound had done damage to his vocal cords.
You come to have one of our little chats about how much better the world is without me?
No, not today. Today I asked somebody else to come talk with you.
Is that right? Who did?
Negan's question died on his lips as Talisa stepped into the room. He looked up in surprise and then wonder, as if he'd never imagined in his wildest dreams that she would appear in the doorway. As she looked down at him, seated on the thin cot in the corner of his cell, his signature sly smile slid slowly back onto his face.
Sassy Pants. Gotta say, of all the faces I expected to see coming through that door, yours was not on the list.
I'll leave you to it.
Rick motioned to a chair in the corner and then walked out of the room after giving Talisa one more pointed look. She walked over and picked up the chair, placing it a few feet from the bars in front of Negan and taking a seat. He continued to watch her with curiosity, and she calmly crossed her arms in front of her and met his gaze.
Hi, Negan.
Hi, Sassy Pants. I gotta say, by my count, I've spent the last 4 months sitting my ass in this cell, staring at these same 4 damn cinder block walls, with the same piss-poor attitude I've always had. So one has to wonder, how'd I earn myself the distinct pleasure of your company?
What makes you think it's a reward?
His smile grew wider as he chuckled slightly.
I did miss you.
He lay back on his cot with his hand behind his head, staring at the ceiling.
So, if this isn't the conjugal visit of my dreams, why are you here?
Talisa leaned back in the chair and crossed her legs as she continued to observe him.
What do you think my job was before the world imploded?
He shot a quick look in her direction.
No idea. But in my head, there were definitely whips and leather involved.
She rolled her eyes at him.
I was a psychiatrist, a criminal psychiatrist, in fact. My specialty was violent psychopaths.
Negan looked over at her in surprise and then pushed himself up on one elbow to look at her more fully as he grinned again.
No shit. So, are you telling me you came down here so we could get our Hannibal Lecter and Clarice Starling on?
Essentially.
You know those two fell in love in the end, right?
Pretty sure he fell in love with her, not so sure it was reciprocal. And either way, I'm much better at my job than her.
Negan chuckled appreciatively and laid back down on his cot.
You know, Abraham made that same comparison the first time I told him about my career.
Abraham.
Red.
He smirked before giving an amused sigh.
Shit. I haven't thought about that badass bastard in a while. You know, I almost regret picking him for Lucille. It was the right call. I realized that the second he looked up at me with half his head cracked open and told me to suck his nuts.
He chuckled again.
But I'll be damned if I didn't admire him. I think I probably would have liked that crazy asshole if things were different.
Yeah, you probably would have. I heard you killed Simon back when shit went down.
Yes, I did.
Heard it was because he killed all the garbage people. Is that true?
You guys called them garbage people too? Damn, I thought I came up with that shit. Yeah, it's true. I told them not to. I know you probably don't believe it, but I don't like killing. I've said it before and I'll say it again. People are a resource.
By that logic, I'd argue death is a resource too. It's how you keep people in check, right? Make them toe the line?
Fear is the resource, sassy pants. It doesn't always have to be death, but fear of death does seem to be a universal human trait, so I admit I fell back on it quite a bit.
What did you do? Back before?
Take a guess.
No idea, but in my head it probably involved monthly check-ins with a parole officer.
He grinned and shook his head.
Man, I missed that.
He sat up and leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees.
Believe it or not, I was a high school gym teacher.
Now it was Talisa's turn to chuckle.
See? Told you. You wouldn't believe me.
Oh no, it's not that. I was actually thinking that makes so much sense. Every gym teacher I've ever known has been a complete douchebag.
Negan laughed out loud at that and stood up from his cot. As he walked over to look out the small rectangular window near the ceiling in the back corner of the cell, Talisa noted how much thinner he looked. He'd always been a lean man, but now his worn jeans hung loose on his hips, and his arms seemed to have lost a good amount of their muscle.
Tell me about Lucille.
Not much more to tell than what you've already seen. She's beautifully simple in her brutality.
Not the bat, the woman you named her after.
He looked back at her with a raised eyebrow, and she shrugged slightly.
Doesn't take a genius to figure out that name wasn't random.
You know, on the topic of geniuses, I recall that I said something to that effect to my good buddy Eugene one time when he asked about her.
He came to sit back down on the bed.
I'm sure you remember Eugene, right?
Of course I do.
Yeah. After that whole shit show that went down the first time we came to Alexandria, you know the time you told little Miss Hot Tamale to blow Eugene to kingdom come?
He looked up at her now, searching for a reaction. She kept her expression neutral, so he continued.
Well, I gotta tell you, that poor guy was pretty messed up. Trashed his apartment and beat his knuckles bloody. Come to think of it, I don't think I've ever seen Eugene lose control like he did that night.
Talisa carefully arranged her features into an indifferent mask. She couldn't let him see that his words had any effect on her, especially considering that the effect itself was confusing to say the least. There was pain, there probably always would be, but she also took a sort of savage pleasure in knowing how much he truly had cared and regretted his actions. He'd written to her about it, of course, but hearing it from another source made it feel more real. When Negan still didn't get his desired reaction, he pressed on.
So anyway, I tried to cheer him up by commiserating how shitty it is to lose a really top-notch girl.
Is that what Lucille was? A top-notch girl?
Negan looked up at her, searching her expression before he answered. After a few seconds, he sighed and looked down at his hands.
She was my wife. My real wife. The first one. From before.
How did she die?
Cancer. Pancreatic.
That sucks.
Yeah.
He rubbed his hands over his face and sat back.
The bitch of it was, she was halfway through treatments and doing pretty well when everything went to hell in a handbasket.
Man, that really is shitty luck.
Negan shot her an amused glance.
You starting to feel sorry for me, sassy pants?
I can have empathy for things you've been through without excusing what you've done.
She sat up in her chair and leaned forward.
If I ask you a tough question, you think you could answer it honestly?
Guess that depends. I think I'd be more inclined if you agreed to quid pro quo, Clarice.
Talisa gave him a reluctant smile and rolled her eyes.
Okay, fine. Hit me with your best shot.
Were you really in love with Eugene?
That's your hard-hitting question? Hate to break it to you, but that's an easy one. Yes, I was very much in love with Eugene.
Are you still?
That's not how this works.
She leaned forward and rested her elbows on her knees.
So, how do you think Lucille would feel if she knew the things you've done in her name?
Negan's expression darkened, and when he looked back at her, his light, playful expression was gone.
She'd hate it, and probably hate me for it. But she's not here, and that's a choice she made besides. I got pretty good at letting her down while she was alive. Figure why not keep the trend going?
Talisa didn't speak again. She watched him carefully, assessing how genuine he was being. After another minute, she stood up and pushed the chair back into the corner.
That's it? Did I fail your test that quick? Come on, I was being honest. I thought we were having a moment.
Talisa smirked.
That's it for now. But I'm gonna come back and talk with you on and off for a while if you're okay with it.
Whatever floats your boat, sassy pants. If you want to visit, I'll make sure I clear my calendar.
You do that.
She turned and headed back up the stairs. She walked out of the townhouse and turned down the road to head back to Rick's. As she came even with the house that she knew held the infirmary and was thinking to herself she should pop in and say hello to Sadiq, she almost walked headfirst into someone coming out of the alley on the side of the building.
My apologies.
They both froze. Maggie had been right. His hair hung in a ponytail that reached to the middle of his back, and the front had grown out as well. The once short, spikier pieces now fell in softer curls against his temples. His eyes met hers in surprise and uncertainty, and her heartbeat picked up rapidly.
Hello?
Eugene seemed to be both hesitant to make eye contact and eager to look at her at the same time.
I wasn't aware you would be present today. I've given the kingdom a wide berth out of your entirely understandable need for space, but I was under the impression that you were steering clear of Alexandria as well, and therefore assumed my presence here would be inoffensive.
I'm here to help Rick out with something.
Oh, very well then. I'll add it to my list of no-go areas for the foreseeable future.
Eugene,
She met his eye again, and her heart ached at his all too familiar expression. She hadn't allowed herself to acknowledge how much she really did miss him.
you don't have to. Avoid places I might be, that is. The world's pretty small now. We should probably start learning how to coexist in it.
He gave her an unsure and shy smile.
Oh, well, I believe a peaceful coexistence is something I'd be happy to attempt.
Cool.
They stood there awkwardly. She wasn't used to feeling so out of place around him. He'd always been a person she went to for comfort, a place she felt totally and entirely at ease. This new normal was going to be harder than she originally anticipated.
I like your hair. It looks good.
Oh, well, thank you. Initially, it wasn't an intentional fashion choice. I've just had my nose to the proverbial grindstone and didn't notice its continued unruliness. But as it grew out, I started to like the look of it, so I opted to keep the ball rolling, as it were.
So what brings you here?
As I stated, nose to the grindstone speaking, I helped install the viaduct here and they were having clogging issue, so I offered to come and inspect it. While on premises, I took the opportunity to grab a few medical necessities we're running low on. Aspirin, antibiotic ointment, and the like. I was just on my way out.
Gotcha. But you're good? Things are going good over there?
Things are running about as well as expected. We've had some bumps in the road, but progress is never a straight line, and I've always found resourcefulness and perseverance to be the main contributors to success over time, and we've got those in spades, even if I do say so myself.
You sure do.
She felt slightly jittery being this close to him. She hadn't counted on how hard it would be to be this close and not touch him. She'd spent the majority of the time she'd known him reaching for him instinctively whenever they were close, and now she found the impulse hadn't left her. Being this close without initiating contact felt wrong, uncomfortable, like writing with her left hand or trying to walk backwards. Eugene looked up at her hesitantly again.
And yourself? How are you adjusting to life in the kingdom?
It's good. I'm teaching English, history, and AP psychology at their school. Not exactly what I pictured myself doing, and definitely not as exciting as building viaducts, but...
On the contrary, the education of our next generation is just as vital of a cog in the wheel that will move our world forward as engineering. One might argue even more vital.
Talisa smiled in spite of herself.
Thanks.
He made a motion that seemed for a second as if he was reaching for her, but then he thought better of it. She realized she wasn't the only one who was struggling with how to act when they were this close.
Well, I suppose I should probably be making my exit before it gets too late.
Right. You've got a campaign tonight, don't you?
He raised an eyebrow in surprise, and she smirked.
Jerry dropped me off. He's been trying to get me to join in for a while now.
Well, if you ever feel so inclined, you would be entirely welcome.
Yeah, maybe I will sometime.
The silence stretched between them again.
Well, I'm gonna...
She nodded towards the infirmary and took a step away from him.
Right.
Guess I'll see you around?
It does seem to work out that way.
She gave him a genuine smile at that, and he returned it with a quick nod before heading back down the street. She walked up the stairs to the infirmary and opened the door. Sadiq looked up from where he was organizing the medicine cabinet and smiled.
Hey, good looking. When did you roll into town?
About an hour ago.
She hopped up onto the counter next to him.
You do your whole Clarice routine with Negan yet?
Is that literally the only reference anybody can come up with? It's not even accurate. Clarice was an FBI agent, not a criminal psychiatrist. Hannibal was actually the psychiatrist. If anything, Harley Quinn would be a more accurate comparison.
Yeah, but then you'd have to go off the deep end and fall in love with Negan and become his partner in crime. And that just sounds messy.
You make an excellent point.
Sadiq looked up from his task and tilted his head to the side so he could better see her face.
You good? You seem off. Did Negan get in your head?
Nah, I'm used to dealing with guys like him. It's just...
She motioned vaguely towards the door.
I bumped into Eugene outside, and it's got me all in my feelings.
Whoa, hang on.
Sadiq put down the bottle of pills he was labeling and looked at her in disbelief.
That Eugene is your Eugene?
Yeah? How did you not put those pieces together? How many Eugenes who are in charge over at Negan's former home base do you think there are?
I mean, when you say it like that. But he's just so... I have a query about the data that you may or may not have quantified.
Talisa shook her head and laughed.
What can I say? I have a type.
So if that's your type, I really never had a shot, huh?
Yeah, sorry about that. Sexy doctors just don't do it for me. Now I gotta go check in with Rick about Negan, but I was wondering if you wanted to have dinner tonight. As friends, of course. I'm really just using you for your cooking skills, if we're being honest.
You're on. I'm always happy to play host. I feel compelled to point out that you did just call me sexy, though. Talk about your mixed signals.
Did I? I'm not sure you heard that right.
She hopped off the desk and headed for the door.
Denial isn't just a river in Egypt, Dr. Prince.
Thanks for your clinical diagnosis, Dr. Bashar.
She winked at him as she walked back outside.
All right. Eugene, you chose to turn left. You encounter a beautiful enchantress who blocks your path, challenging your magical prowess.
Am I capable of charming said enchantress?
Jerry checked his notes.
You are. Roll for your ability check.
Eugene rolled his dice.
17.
Congratulations, Eugene. You've successfully charmed the enchantress. She let you pass without challenge or injury.
First time for everything. Huh, Eugene?
Said Luke, one of the other saviors.
Dude, don't be a dick, and you're also so totally off base.
Luke looked curiously back at Eugene.
Oh yeah, 'cause I gotta say, I haven't really seen you making many friends of the female persuasion since you got here, Eugene.
Just because I haven't sought out the companionship of the fairer sex in the time that you've known me does not mean I have never in my life engaged in said companionship. I am, in fact, fairly fresh off the dissolution of a highly significant relationship and have decided to cool my proverbial jets on the romance front for the foreseeable future.
No kidding.
Said Ollie, one of the other men at the table.
Wait, hold on. That chick from Hilltop, the one you had me take the DVDs to, was that her? Your ex?
It was indeed.
Damn, she's hot. How'd you land her?
I'm entirely unaware of that even now. For the majority of our relationship, I was simply holding on for dear life and happy she saw fit to look my direction.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Why'd you break up?
Considering I was here beside Negan and she was standing firmly on the correct side of things, I would think the answer to that question would be obvious.
Damn, that sucks. And there's no hope of you winning her back?
Decidedly not. My level of betrayal and idiocy is such that I never even entertained the idea. I'm not worthy of her, plain and simple. In truth, I never was, but my cowardly choices have made that chasm all the more impassable.
I mean...
Jerry gave a small shrug and Eugene looked over at him curiously.
It's just... Lately, it seems like maybe she's coming around. She was actually thinking about coming along and joining us tonight.
Dude, she's hot and she likes D&D?
She does. Along with a plethora of other things, including, but not limited to, Star Trek, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, and a myriad of video games.
Dude, she's like the perfect woman.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Man, you must really be kicking yourself for screwing that up, huh?
Dude. Dick.
Jerry shot a glare at Luke before turning back to Eugene.
But seriously, Eugene, I really do think she might be coming around.
I'm aware she may be coming around, as you put it, in terms of interacting with me in a more friendly manner. Just today, we had our first conversation since all the unfortunate events that ended our relationship, and while slightly awkward, I believe it was a successful reinitiation of contact.
Dude, you guys talked today? Wait a slow roll. How'd it go?
As I stated, it was initially awkward but found its way into cordial and friendly. I can see a potential future where our friendship may once again find its footing, and I'm well aware that after my actions, that is far more than I deserve. Therefore, I would be more than happy with that outcome and have no expectation of any kind that it would move beyond such.
Jerry raised a questioning eyebrow.
So, you're saying you wouldn't want to get back together with her?
Quite the opposite. She is the love of my life, and I would take her back the millisecond she suggested the idea. But I see no path forward with that intended outcome, so I am learning to accept the reality of my situation and be happy with what I have. And in that vein, I believe we have a campaign to complete.
Right. Okay, Ollie, what's your next move?
When I Fall is a work of fiction based on AMC's The Walking Dead. Any characters not created by the author are the property of said company. The story will continue in the next chapter.